Welcome to the Anatomy of a Strategy podcast. I'm Carlos Pacheco.
And I am Tara Hunt. And Carlos, who do we have with us today?
We have Karima-Catherine
Goundiam.
Karima is a good friend of ours. She's an award-winning CEO of Red Dot Digital, a strategy and insights lead agency based right here in Toronto and around the world. The agency is looking to branch out in B2B matchmaking very soon. They're launching a product which is very similar to what we're doing. I don't mean the product is similar to ours, but they're moving in this direction similar to us.
Yeah, moving from services to product, which we thought was really interesting. I mean, we've wanted to talk with Karima for a while because she's really brilliant. We can't ask her like, hey, tell us about yourself, because her background is so rich and so
we'll invite you to look her up on LinkedIn. It's hard, it's like there's so much credentials there, so like don't even.
Yeah, and she's not one of those people that goes out into the world and waves her arms about everything that she does. So she's just solid, just so you know. So she knows of what she speaks of.
Exactly.
She's also the vice president and board member of the British Canadian Chamber of Trade and Commerce, where she helps promote trade links and business ties between Canada and the UK. And she actually just like a few days before she came on our podcast, landed back from like a long period of time being in the UK.
True.
And more recently, she founded Tech Canada Advocates. We didn't get a chance to talk about it on the podcast, but this is a global tech advocacy group aimed at improving the areas of diversity, digital skills, talent mobility, and access to funding in tech. So if that's interesting to you, make sure you check our show notes, because we'll also put links to that in there.
Let's get to it.
So welcome to Karima Goundiam. We are so excited to have you on the podcast. This has been a long time in the making.
Yes.
We've been trying to get you on, but you've been building something which we're going to actually talk about in not too long for quite a while. Much like us, we're building a product too, but I think your product is like probably even more involved. But once again, this is a teaser. We're going to get there. But let's start with welcome, Karima, to Anatomy of a Strategy.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here to talk to you and finally reveal what I've been working on.
I know, it's like exclusive from Anatomy of a Strategy right here. You heard it first.
It is. Exactly.
That's so exciting. Amazing. So great. Well, first of all, for people that don't know who you are, you've been running Red Dot Digital.
Yeah.
A strategy and insights firm for many years. You do projects across the board. Like I've seen you work with governments and with food and beverage companies. Like you're sort of all over the map with, you're kind of like us with the kind of work you do. Can you tell us about the kind of work that Red Dot Digital does in general?
Yeah. So Red Dot is what we like to call it ourselves is a firm that mixes management consulting and digital business. So we guide companies across the world into evolving their business, optimizing their business, and really reaching the kind of level of performance that they haven't before. Our focus is obviously digital transformation, and we look into people, process, and technology, with at the center data and data insights.
Yeah, and this is a big topic, and we actually talked to, I don't know if you know him, Nectarios.
Yes, we used to be colleagues.
Yeah, so we talked to him a while back about we were going to talk about digital transformation. I think we ended up going off on another tangent, but it's one of those words that is thrown around quite a bit, right? Like it's everybody's like, we need a digital transformation.
Honestly, I always say everybody's talking about it. Even my mom at this point is doing digital transformation. That's how it's being thrown around, and with a lot of different slants. Some people will focus solely on digitization, and some other people will talk about training.
Right.
So, and everything in between.
Yeah. And it sounds like you bring all of those things together. You said people,
we
process,
try, yeah.
and what was the third?
And technology.
And technology, okay.
And technology, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because I think the first two probably are the hardest. I mean, technology kind of feels like it's maybe the easy. I don't know. Maybe we don't do digital transformation projects per se. We kind of come in and show a lot of teams that they need to have a digital transformation because they're like, what are you talking about?
So we definitely are in the same ecosystem.
Yeah.
So you're right in a way that technology for us is the easiest low-hanging fruit. Usually companies will think that by having a system plugged in or by having a new platform, new website, new whatever you want, they will be digitally transformed. And then we go in and we look into people skills. We look into the culture. We look into what are your processes? Are you moving from paper to digital? Isn't digital transformation either. Right. It's part of it, but it's not digital transformation only. So we really try to, like Red Dot does, is really connect the dots between all the different parties.
I just got it. Red Dot. Oh my God. Am I like daft or something? Because I've known you for how many years? So many years. And I just made that connection.
Right. Oh, well, it's never too late. It's great, though. It's because we're too close. That's probably why.
Yeah.
So we really, the mission is to connect the dots to get I like to say the clients from sometimes, into, like, I don't like zero to hero, but that's really literally that. People usually who come to us have tried multiple consultants, multiple firms, big ones, small ones, people talking to them about social media, people talking to them about content, people talking to them about website, and they get so confused, and then they come to us and you're the last resort. After you, we're done. Like, we don't want to talk about it anymore. So we kind of make sense of it for them, and we guide them in the process. At least that's what the aim is.
And you don't have you don't have like a huge team. You're really nimble yourselves, right? You guys are you are digitally, like, you act very new structure. Am I correct?
Yes. We don't even have an office. That's why.
Wow.
we asked for your help earlier this week.
Sorry, in our unfortunately our boardroom wasn't available, but we'd love to have you guys in at any point for sure.
I think at some point we will have to come in because we have a lot of synergies. But to answer your question, is we're super nimble. We have a project-based approach. So more and more, I'm not in the day-to-day, but I look at the business dev, the strategy, everything that evolved out of my own company forward. But then what I'm really good at, I think, is being a project director, meaning that putting together the right skill set around the table for the right client. And then that team, moves forward the client.
Right.
So I look at skill set, but I also look at fit in the industry. It's almost like a matrix, how we decide how the team should look like.
Yeah, so you sort of do this thing where it sounds like you most likely sit down with a client and then you're like, okay, these are the people that I would pull in. And I would imagine it's not just people within your organization, it's also partners outside of your organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We always, and I'm very fortunate because I travel a lot, so I meet a lot of good people and I'm able to pick and choose sometimes in a very inspired way, the right skill sets. So sometimes it is people within the organization, but because we always look at what's best for the client, we can work with partners, and we can also work with recommendations. I believe very much in collaboration and connection. Therefore, 3 degrees of separation. So I'll ask my contact if they can recommend someone, and thus the team grows this way. And the usually the client project team goes from 3 to 10 people. Anywhere between that. So
there've got to be challenges to working as well. I guess what I always call this type of structure, like a small pieces loosely joined organization from David Weinberger's book that I loved many years ago. I don't know if you've ever read that particular book, but he was talking many years ago, foreseeing a lot of companies like yourselves who didn't necessarily have a structure where, you hire people, it's the same people, you just do that thing, but that you come together and break apart as needed. And, it's called small pieces loosely joined. So I always think of that, but there's got to be
that word.
Yeah, it's a great phrase, and it's like there's got to be challenges in that structure as well. What are some of those challenges?
So if you take it back a few years, I was in corporate, right? Yeah. And I worked with big teams, dedicated teams, not dedicated teams, international teams, local teams, you name it. I think you two have that kind of experience. I have less challenges now than I did at the time I was in corporate. Mm-hmm. And I know it's going to be surprising that I say that, but the challenges I have now are because I'm more of I think I'm somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur till the end of time. I almost say we're artists. We don't stop in the weekend. We don't have a 9 to 5. Picasso didn't stop, at 5 and said, guys, I have to go home and do something else. So entrepreneurs, as you know, we live that thing. And for me, the challenge that I have now with the team are nothing compared to the challenges I had having to answer to people who I felt didn't understand the vision that we were trying to create. So the kind of challenges we have obviously right now are, I would say one is always making sure we have the right skill set around the table. Mm-hmm. That means that because we work on long-term projects, sometimes those skill sets have to be upskilled. So for example, for content writers, making sure they also understand a more technical side of SEO because it does impact their work directly, right? And that's just an example. So making sure we always have the right skill set around the table is one challenge because you want to make sure the team is always performing. Yeah. The second challenge, I would say, in terms of team specifically, is how do you manage a worldwide team? Some of them sitting in Toronto, 5 minutes from me, but some of them are sitting in other countries. And how do you make sure that everybody has a sense of purpose and vision for that client?
Right. And they're aligned and accountable. And that's the thing that creates like anxiety in my chest right now. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, yeah. So how do we have people that are sitting like in the same office as us. And sometimes I have a challenge with that.
But as you know, it's us basically. We're like the chef d'orchestre, we're like the people who are dealing with many different instruments, and many different challenges, but we still have to come out and show that it's a beautiful melody and that even the challenges nobody knows about them. Right. Nobody has to, so it's a huge work, as you know. But I think in time, for me, it goes back to what kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of entrepreneur do you want to be? And I don't want to go into all the stories we've seen in the tech world, but I think a lot of the kind of person I am now and how I relate to my team goes back to all the bad examples I've seen out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and they seem to be revealing themselves more and more, I think, as the facade crumbles. And that is a whole different podcast. Mm-hmm. I guess like this, so all these skills, I would imagine, and how you put this together is, and this is beautifully dovetailing into my next set of questions, because this kind of leads us to what you're building now. You're building a B2B matchmaking product. And I would imagine it's like it comes out of almost a need that you personally have, or maybe not. Maybe you see this just with your clients. But like, tell us a little bit more about this product. Does it have a name? And how did it come about? And what does B2B matchmaking mean exactly?
So B2B Match is the product of, I would say, both my years in corporate and with a condensed version of my 4 years as an entrepreneur trying to scale, not only scale within Toronto, scale within Canada, and then internationally. And all the roadblocks that I've gone through, everything that I lived. So it's almost like a condense of my own experience in this product. So B2B Match is a place where we want people to connect, collaborate, and cross-pollinate. It's really if you think about it, it's the ecosystem of a bee, of the bees. The other thing is, when we were thinking of a name, we were thinking of something that could have an impact. And for us, we always talk about small and medium businesses as being the backbone of the economy. But what I find is, in reality, the policy, the governments, and the large enterprises are not equipped to support and foster an ecosystem for SMEs.
No, not at all. In fact, it's like, oh, you're the backbone, but we have nothing for you because you're not big enough to matter to us.
Exactly. I'm so glad you say that, because it does completely align with what I lived, what you lived, but what potentially most businesses have lived. Sometimes they, even doing business with a big organization is an issue because the big organization has a procurement.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that.
Oh, I love that. I love how you went in sync.
Yeah.
So basically, I've never been one who thought about a product. I was actually pretty much anti-product. I just thought there was too much tech around us and we don't need another product. But then in the past year, I've thought about my experience. I thought about how some of the things I was able to solve in my own business and how we could potentially be scaled and help other businesses that may be in the same situation as me, which means 99% of services, and SMEs. So in May, actually, March was something else. In May, we decided to kick off the product. Started with a name convention, decided on the concept, on the user flow and everything else, as you know, product development. In August, we decided on the technology that we were going to use. September, we started to code, and we're ready to launch mid-December. So really what we want to bring with B2B Match is business matchmaking like it hasn't been done before. We want to provide business services of all kinds, so legal, HR, project management, accounting, marketing, design, you name it, even product as a service, a place where they can offer their services to companies who want to hire them. So marketplace.
Yes, it's a marketplace for services providers, which, that sounds like it, not to put you on the spot, but it sounds like it's been done before. How are you approaching it that's a bit different than prior organizations?
Yeah, so a lot of the organization we looked, there's a few key differences. One of them is they rely a lot on human interaction. So, for example, they will say, give us your specs and we'll find you, companies that could be a good lead. We are removing that piece. We don't have any, they won't be in the matchmaking. There will be no human interaction. It will be AI powered. Then the other people who've tried to do it as well, they focus on one vertical. They'll focus on marketing agencies or they'll focus on legal professionals. So to me, when you're a company like yours or like mine or like most boutique companies, when you scale, you're trying to scale with different kind of skill set. Not just, you don't want to go to one platform to find a lawyer and then the next platform to find a content producer and then another platform to find potentially a partner to pitch with you on bigger projects.
Right.
So what we wanted to really do is provide a one place for SMEs to be able not only to offer their services, but also to find partners. So the way matchmaking works is one capabilities. So let's say you're a boutique company and you're looking for a lawyer, but you don't have a specific project. You just are looking for counsel, legal counsel. You'll be able to go there and be matched with a bunch of legal professionals, whether they are in your area or external, outside, overseas. You'll be able to see them. The strength of it is the kind of information we're going to ask people. They're going to be not only focused on what the company does, but also you're going to have the soft skills. We're going to ask people things around: are you a diverse company? Are you women-led? Have you won awards? Do you have media presence, and so on and so forth? We're really going to make it as much as a complete profile as possible.
So not just like a glorified yellow pages. There's
Definitely
you can put things, you can put things in there that matter to you on top of the work. I like that idea of
Absolutely.
having I want to work with other diversity focused organizations. That's always been a big priority of mine, is I want to work with people that just aren't a bunch of, no offense, but just a bunch of white men that have the same similar experiences of the world,
Yeah. And this is why we thought it was really important in order to stay relevant, but also this is not, the way you hire someone isn't just based on their, the name of their company and what you can see on Google, which is mostly SEO ranking. Yeah. People want to, work with people they like. And this is what we infuse as well in that tool. So there's a bunch of questions we're going to ask. And this whole logic is going to allow people to receive what we call a compliant score. So we do not want to create another Fiverr. This is not a freelancer platform. This is not an Upwork. This is not LinkedIn. This is none of that. What we want is a company to company. So for us, the biggest way in this compliance score is going to be whether or not you're a company.
Right.
And then every single question is going to get some sort of a score in order to allow people to get a final score. Right. So, and then we have milestone questions that we're going to manually verify.
Right.
This is why project management is going to be a big
for sure, because I think about, for instance, if I was going to think of another industry that has something like this, like Homestars. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever used Homestars, but if you are doing a bigger sort of construction building project, you could go over to Homestars and be like, I need to get a contractor, I need to find a plumber, and I need to find an interior designer, maybe somebody that does tile work or something. Maybe I'm redoing a bathroom. And you can go into Homestars and see their feedback, and you can sort of they don't have the diversity questions and they don't have that sort of questions, but they do have a lot of okay, now I can feel good about hiring this person because they have these recommendations. I will say, however, having used Homestars, it fell down in the compliance because people gamed it, right? They had people that they were go on there and give them high reviews, but the people that hated them, they kind of didn't put those reviews on. So we ended up with a really bad contractor because of it, unfortunately.
Oh,
no. But the concept is really great and attractive, right? In that, because I think a lot of people when they go out to, look for help on whatever level or partners on whatever level, what we do generally is we post on to our friends or our colleagues. And we say, hey, does anybody have recommendations? Google is not usually a good help because there's so many specific questions. Yeah. And then you end up spending so much time. And then you're still nervous because you're like, did I make the right choice? It's just almost too much, right? The paradox of choice that hits you in the face. So what are you going to so you say not, if it's a business to business thing, this is a big decision that people make. So how are you helping us make that right decision.
The right decision.
Yeah.
So I always compare this to a dating app. We are helping you, if you want somebody who is 6'3", blonde, blue-eyed or whatever, no tattoos, no smokers,
God,
who loves
sounds
traveling.
very boring.
And we'll bring you that as much as possible, that person, but whether or not you get married isn't up to us. We'll make sure that companies have enough information to make the right call. This is why we're going into soft questions like, how are you diverse? For some, and you have to also look at, this tool isn't just for Canada. So diversity in Canada is quite significant. But if you go to other countries, maybe they have a different understanding of it. So this is why it's important that if, for example, and I'm always giving this example because to me it's quite a, it's a casual one, but it's an interesting one, is let's say you're in Australia, you're an Australian company and you want to come into Canada to organize an event. What do you want to do? Carry around all your documents, your trade show information, your event, your paper, your business cards. What do you want to do? Also bring the whole team from Australia into Canada so that they can actually coordinate the events? So are you going to try to find local people who can fast track this event?
Right.
By doing this, we're going to be able to say to you, okay, this company knows how to do events. They're diverse. They were led by women. They're LGBTQ. They speak not only English, but they also speak more languages, and so on and so forth, with a bunch of questions, including more emotional questions, like, are they into corporate social responsibility? Are they, like, how are they forward thinking? And this will give you, I think, a holistic profile of who the company is. And then your job is to do the due diligence.
This is a really great example because we actually did it the opposite way a few years back when we were working with Melbourne, Australia. And, we were working with a client and they asked us for their recommendations on helping them find somebody who could do local content there. And even though I'm really well connected in this area, all the people that I knew were either busy or like they just got a job, so they weren't taking on clients, that sort of thing. And it was really hard for me even to assess because everybody's website is the same, right? Everybody on the surface says they do all these things and they do it amazingly and they have these case studies that make them look fantastic. But then when it comes down to like the actual brass tacks, it was very different. Like once we sat down to talk with them and they talked about their philosophy, I was like, oh, no, that's not going to work. And it took so long, this would have been something that was perfect for us at that point, for sure.
Exactly. Because, again, I stress the international aspect because for me, international opportunities are so important and they are the way as well to scale a small company. But local opportunities would be wonderful on this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Filling in those gaps like you do on your day-to-day basis, I guess. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like who can I trust that would be sort of on that same page? And there are so many services, organizations, small boutique firms like ours are out there. We've had great luck and bad luck with different partners along the way. We are not like, do you know what I hate? And maybe you could tell me whether you hate this too. When somebody goes, when you go, we're a full service agency and we do everything, I always just cringe. I think that means you do nothing very well. You do like,
very true.
Like
having worked in full service agencies, like most of the employees are just like thrown into different things and everybody sort of is learning on the client's dime, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I would rather
on a Friday.
Yeah. So I would be like, the client wants programmatic advertising. Go figure out how to do that. And then we'll pitch them next week. Like, what? No, this is what we do is we go, okay, this is not our core competency. Let's go find a partner to bring in. Because also those partnerships, and I would imagine you're thinking about this in B2B Match, is like I scratch your back and then you scratch mine, right? So down the road, when there's another project and you've brought me in to the first project and it requires skills that you have, I'm going to bring you into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the next question that I got from my amazing legal team was, okay, how is that scalable? But they liked it. So I was less stressed about answering that question. But to me, it's almost like replayability.
Yeah.
Now, if you're familiar with that word, is you have one contact, but the contact can sometimes change and evolve in a different way. Sometimes you don't want to work with them. Sometimes your need are expanding. So you have to keep wanting leads, and you have to keep looking for leads and opportunities. So this is why the model could really be interesting. And for me, for example, who have been in 8 business network last year, literally 8 membership and receiving 0 ROI, I would have put a lot of my money into this platform versus trying to go to events that are completely unqualified and
And general, right?
Very general, very unqualified and Carlos, you're completely right because usually the people who are organizing these events focus on how many people they can have in the room, not necessarily your specific needs and wants. And regardless, business network usually cater to large organization or the biggest sponsors. So what does it say about SMEs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's like those, I feel like some of those organizations, you're part of them because you can then have the peer network. It's less about networking for me. It's more about, hey, has anybody ever encountered this problem? Something that you couldn't talk about on LinkedIn, like these HR issues or whatever, right? Where you have a more of a confidential environment. But like, I don't think those are great for networking. Personally,
absolutely.
I feel like everybody's kind of on guard at those events too, right? They're like, please, don't pitch me, bro. I'm here to get business. I don't want to give you business. And it becomes one of those like cat and mouse games. Like, oh, I see a conversation over there. As soon as somebody brings up what they're doing with their business, it's a bit disingenuous.
That is so true. And then it's more like how many people can you clock and how many people can you actually talk to before you get out?
Yeah. Do you know what? This reminds me of a bad LinkedIn group, like.
Can you name a good LinkedIn group?
Yeah. It's like,
Carlos, I love your interaction on LinkedIn. They're amazing.
I'm usually a hater on it. What are you talking about?
Well, that's
that's what we need because honestly, LinkedIn needs to up their game.
Yeah. Well, and it really is. Everybody's trying to.
I have a specific beef when it comes to LinkedIn. Essentially, it's typical Microsoft. They just bought something that was awesome, and now they're leaving it to just fester and turn into crap. And they're just letting without real sort of monitoring and limiting types of content on it. But end rant.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
No, I would say continue rant on LinkedIn. I like that.
Yeah, but I think it's a pretty simple solution, and it sounds like something that you're going to be building into your platform. Is instead of making it, all about like, I'm here to sell. I love how you're framing it as matchmaking rather than just like a selling, I guess, platform. And I think that's a big part of what's happening in these groups is people are there to push, but not like to shout, but not listen.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Actually, so it's almost like you've seen the back end, Sarah. but
we may be prime candidates for your beta.
But the thing is, a lot of what I do, I always want to bring value to people. Why would somebody care about even spending 1 minute on this if it's literally just a directory? So what we have is we've built a knowledge center that is basically for people by people. So let's say your agency, right? You have a specific expertise into how to put podcasts together, let's say, right? you can actually write a piece about it and say to people, look, if you want to do good podcasts, this is what you should be doing and this is how you should go about it. So you actually write an article. You can also write a how-to.
Yep.
You can put a video. I mean, it's a really a knowledge center, and you can, when you post it, then it's an open knowledge center. So this has two purposes. The first one is you're giving back to your peers and to the members, but you're also showing your expertise outside of the community.
Yeah.
So from a promotional perspective, it's really good. But also we want to force let's say we want to encourage and foster members to really give back, because this is the kind of mentality we have, is if we are all professionals, if we all want the good, and if we all want to make money and do more business, but there's a sense of let's educate others as to how to also do better business.
Yeah. That sentiment of you encouraging people to give something before they ask for something, really, I mean, it's in so many words, reminds me actually of our last podcast. We were talking, was it last podcast or the podcast before? We were talking to Alex Hillman. He's one of the people that really helped grow the co-working movement with me early days, and he keeps going on it. But one of the things he said, and I love this quote, is don't think of putting out content like that, helpful content, like it's a promotional tool. That's not the reason to do it. Think about it as a product, a blog post, a how-to, a video, whatever. This is a product. It's a tiny free product that you're giving away to people. And if you add value to their lives, if they use it, right, they use that advice and it works really well, you've built trust. And that trust is the foundation for when they need to take the next step and make a decision to hire somebody to help them. Not everybody's going to need to hire somebody to help them. They could just use that and use a free thing and go with it. But so say you've started a podcast based on our how-to podcast list. And then you're like, this is great. Oh, but now we're really busy and we want to launch a whole bunch of other things. Hey, why don't we reach out to them and see if they can help us with that? That's the difference.
Exactly.
They're not gonna be like, I'm gonna just search generally for somebody who can do this. I know who can do this because they helped me do it the first piece, right?
Absolutely. So. And also, I think if you're a good professional who has, ethics and your stuff, you will also want to educate other people as to how to choose a good professional, because we've all heard, as you said, your contractor was really bad. And then how many people have we heard with bad designers and bad creative directors, bad translators, bad writers, you name it, there's always bad people. So by educating other people on how to reach out to the right ones, I think it creates some sort of a benchmark. The other thing too, the reason why the Knowledge Center is an important one is this is not just a service provider platform. The people who are going to sign up, we hope, are going to be even product people. So you might be selling flowers. You might need a website. You might need a content writer. You might need a social media strategy. And therefore, but you don't even know where to start. Yeah. So this is really an opportunity for the service providing community to educate their potential clients.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and like community, and we've talked about community. It's one of those things that people always forget in their overall strategy. Is community. They think about the processes, right? The stuff that you give and the technology. And they even think about what, their audience, But then, the owned, earned, paid stuff they launch. And then they wonder oh, why aren't we retaining anybody? Why is this not being used to this level? And even back to our exact, when we were talking about LinkedIn and how it's become less usable, is because there's a community problem there, right?
Definitely.
And if we're also, as you know, building a tool, and for us, even though we know that we're going to attract people with the learning stuff, our own knowledge center, we're going to attract them with the tools and stuff that we provide. I know what we're, in my heart of hearts, know that we need to put the most love into fostering a healthy community, because that's going to be the backbone of why people want to be part of Flywheel. That's what the product we're building.
Yes,
because having
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. It's the community part doesn't happen until next year, but we're hoping, I'm crossing my fingers, we have a bunch of like little things to take care of, but we're hoping to launch the store, the shop part, in the next few weeks, probably around the same time as you're launching.
We should totally do something together then.
Yeah,
I'm so
launch
glad
party.
you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
Yes. And
well,
I'm so glad you also
we have a space.
I know. And I'm so glad you're moving into that space as well, because for small companies, you know, building another revenue stream is such an important part of survival as well, right? And thriving.
Well, we probably had probably the similar impetus to what you have behind why we want to build it. Like really, we're building Flywheel because we see that there is a whole bunch of small and mid-sized businesses that can't afford an agency, right? They want an agency because they're like, sometimes they feel lost or they just don't have enough time, or, you know, they just like, there's so much happening in marketing and they're trying to read everything they can online and learn themselves. And it just gets more and more confusing, right? Because everything's DIY now. Everybody's shouting. And we want to create basically a DIY marketing tool for people who want to do it themselves, but kind of like feel a little overwhelmed by everything that's out there. We're going to like make sure that, you know, there's a free level, there's a paid level, and then there's like a super powered where you get a little bit more like coaching level with everything, right? So you can get some extra help. And it really is because we can't as an organization afford to service small businesses because it takes just as much time for their projects as it takes for the big projects, and then we're not profitable and we get in trouble. But what we can do is teach these small businesses how we do it and help guide them, and that's scalable. So yeah, our impetus was to help make better marketing, really, at the end of the day. Like, we wanted people to stop just throwing money at Facebook. Like, if that's anything, if I say like what was our core driver to building Flywheel is to get people to stop buying all their ads on Facebook and Instagram. Like, just stop it. Like, do something smarter, do something that's actually going to help your business. Here are some other great ideas for you. Like that. I mean, maybe I'll put that in one of our marketing messages, like, stop buying ads on Facebook, please.
I think we're going to have so much fun with both our product. I'm so glad it's almost like our two babies are coming out at the same time.
I know. So. We should have we should have a shower together.
We're
twinning. That's awesome. And what's really funny about all of this, Karima, we talked earlier, we're like, let's just be friends having a chat, is that you and I have kept trying to get together for, I don't know, a year. And both of us, because we get so busy with what we're building, and it's actually at the very, like, literally when you were talking about your timeline, like May and then August and without the lawyers involved, because we haven't done that, but maybe we should. I
think you should, yeah.
we have the exact same timeline as you do. Exact. Like, Carlos and I went out on a sort of a executive retreat in May. That's where the name came out. That's where like the concept came together. Yeah, like, it's just
that is.
And then in
so
August
amazing.
we hired the developers. Like, it's like, shut up. Are we living the same life? Yeah,
we are. And so if you want good lawyers, I do have good ones.
Oh, see, there you go. You're already B2B matchmaking for me. Wonderful.
I'm totally matchmaking.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been really great. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be really interested to know where they can find your new product and when you launch, because I think this podcast is going to come out about the same time as you're launching. Mm-hmm. So please tell us right now, where can people go and sign up for the beta or for the product?
Hopefully at that time it will be the full product. It is B2BMatch.com. So B 2 and then BEE match.com.
Awesome.
Nice.
We'll make sure to have links on the description as well.
Yeah, and is there anywhere else that they could try to follow you and what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. B2B Match is going to have its own ecosystem with social media, obviously, and so on and so forth. They can follow me on Twitter, Karima-Catherine, and or ping me anywhere else they can find me.
Excellent, including LinkedIn, even though please Don't pitch her. Don't pitch her.
Actually, follow me on Carlos's feed. That's what you have to do. I'm all over them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to co-launching our babies. And let's talk offline about that potential launch collaboration.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really, really fun. Thank you.
That was amazing. I feel like we could have gone talking with Karima like for another hour and a half at least.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole bunch of avenues we could have gone down, like, hey, let's compare notes. And I think we're going to have to do that and follow up with her, because anybody out there that maybe has been doing services, we covered this a little bit when we talked to Alex Hillman, but he's like smaller and more scrappy, where Karima is part of a bigger organization with like a lot more at stake, kind of like they're on the top end. We're sort of in the middle, where you have you're known for being a services organization. And now you're building a product. It's a very different muscle that you're flexing. Yeah. So we could have gone into how you move from services to product. But I am really interested in the B2B match product that she is putting out there, like the freelance matchers, et cetera, of this world. It has been attempted before, but I really like her approach in general.
I just wanted to interrupt, AKA literally everybody on LinkedIn.
Yeah. But I love the approach. I love the idea of putting a community behind it that's healthy, that it's all about giving knowledge and sharing knowledge. And I like the way that she is they're building compliance into it and adding those soft skills that are really important to a lot of us when we're looking for partners or help with our own businesses.
Awesome. So thank you very much for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, this specific episode, the podcast in general, please recommend it to your friends in the industry or anybody that you think would love this podcast. Obviously, we want as many people out there to listen to us, and we want, great reviews on Apple Podcasts. So only give us 5 stars.
Well, okay. So if somebody sent you this podcast, or you're coming through Karima's network and she's shared this podcast, please do follow us on Apple Podcasts. And if you enjoy it, please give us a review. Any number of stars is fine. We just want to hear your feedback. We're always trying to improve. We're always trying to bring new guests on. And if you are interested in becoming a guest or know of somebody that you think should be a guest on Anatomy of a Strategy, somebody who understands strategy from a unique perspective, please do send them our way. We're always looking for new guests.
Awesome. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.